6-minute podcast. Business, study, life.
Right. So today we're going to do a deep dive into something a lot of us have probably thought about.
Yeah.
At least at some point during our job hunt.
Yeah.
You know, how much personal info is really too much to ask on a job application? I mean, you see those questions sometimes and you're just like, really? You need to know that.
Right.
And thankfully, you sent over this essay that kind of digs into both sides of that whole debate.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
It's juicy. So we're going to unpack it all right here, right now. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll have some food for thought next time you're either applying for a job or on the other side of that, doing the hiring.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this essay kicks off by laying out some of the arguments for why a company might want to peek into your personal life a little bit, you know, like asking about hobbies, relationships, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And one of the big ones they bring up is this idea of cultural fit.
Ah, yeah.
Which basically boils down to whether you'd vibe with the company's overall, you know, atmosphere. Exactly.
Nostalgia.
The culture. Yeah, like imagine you're applying to some super outdoorsy company and you love to hike.
Makes sense.
Seems like a pretty good sign.
Yeah. On the surface, sure. I mean, it's like, okay, they're outdoorsy. I'm outdoorsy.
Right. You'll get along.
But sometimes you have to think about it a little deeper than that.
Okay.
You know, there's some studies out there that actually suggest that like a personality test is actually a better predictor of how someone will perform
Interesting.
than just hobbies.
Okay.
And you also have to think about the fact that if you're only bringing in people with the same hobbies, you kind of end up with this like echo chamber.
Right. Everyone's the same.
Everyone's the same. And you lose those benefits of having different perspectives and
different experience,
backgrounds and everything.
It totally makes you wonder if they're just looking for people who are just like them instead of the best person for the job.
That's a good point.
Right. Okay, so another point the essay brings up is work-life balance.
Okay.
As a reason for asking these kind of personal questions. And the idea here is that knowing your family's situation could help employers offer support, which sounds considerate on the surface, but could it also lead to some assumptions that aren't so fair? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's like walking a tightrope. You know, while it might seem like they're just trying to be considerate, there's always that risk of unconscious bias creeping in.
Right.
You know, like you see on the application, oh, they've got young children.
They can't possibly work late.
They're never going to be available for that business trip.
Right. They're out.
Yeah. And it's like,
yeah,
even if that's not the case at all.
Right. Totally. And that could limit opportunities for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the last pro the essay mentions is that hobbies can sometimes give you a glimpse into someone's
skills,
like soft skill. Like if you're the captain of a sports team, maybe that shows some leadership qualities. Right.
Definitely. But it's not always so obvious, you know?
What do you mean?
Like, let's say someone's super into competitive gaming.
Okay.
At first glance, you might be like,
what's that got to do with anything?
how does that translate? But if you think about it, that involves a lot of strategic thinking, problem solving, teamwork even.
Totally.
So, you know, those could be really valuable skills in the workplace.
It's like don't judge a book by its cover, basically.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so we've looked at the potential upsides, but now let's flip the script and dive into those concerns.
Okay, the downsides.
Yeah, the downsides about employers asking for all this personal info. And the essay makes it clear that privacy is a big one.
Yeah, huge.
Like, does it really cross a line to ask about stuff that's not directly job related? I don't know.
It can, you know, especially these days when data is so valuable and everyone's so protective of their
personal information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, your hobbies, your relationship status, that's your private life.
Right.
It shouldn't be used to judge whether or not you can do a job.
Totally. And that ties into the next big concern bias.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, these questions might seem harmless, but they could actually lead to some pretty
unfair,
decisions. Like, imagine a hiring manager sees that someone loves to knit.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they're probably too quiet and introverted for our fast-paced environment.
Right. They make all these assumptions.
Right, a huge assumption.
But what if that person is actually like a brilliant strategist who just happens to that knitting as a way to unwind.
Exactly. You don't know.
You never know.
Right. And it's so easy to just let those biases
sneak in.
Yeah. Influence our perceptions without even realizing it.
Totally.
Yeah. It's a good reminder to check ourselves and make sure we're not jumping to conclusions. Okay. And finally, the essay wraps up by highlighting legal issues.
Oh, right.
Because depending on where you live, some of these questions could be straight up illegal.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Yeah. A lot of countries have laws to prevent discrimination based on things like
age,
marital status,
religion, all that
stuff.
Right.
So employers have to be really careful or they could face some serious consequences.
Yeah. Nobody wants that.
Nope.
All right. So to recap, we've got some pretty solid arguments on both sides of this whole personal info thing.
It's a tough one.
It is. On one hand, getting a glimpse into someone's personality, their life outside of work could help build a stronger, more
connected,
team.
Definitely.
But on the other hand, it does open that door to privacy violations.
Legal issues.
Yeah. That's a lot to consider.
It is.
And it kind of leads to this final question.
Okay, I like this.
Yeah. So even if it's legal to ask all this stuff, is it really ethical? Where do we draw that line between a company's desire to find the perfect fit and someone's right to privacy?
It's a balancing act.
It's a tough one.
For sure.
So that's something for you to think about, ponder as you navigate your own career.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for diving in with us today.
Yeah, this was great.
It was fun.
Really interesting.
And we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
6-Minute Podcast. Business, study, life.